If you're a B2B SaaS founder, you've probably heard this 1,000 times. Just post more. More LinkedIn, more videos, more blogs, more touch points. So you tried it. You increased output, you filled the calendar, engagement even went up. But your pipeline? Still inconsistent. Still unpredictable, still disconnected from the effort. This is the most common pattern I see with B2B SaaS teams past early traction. You're not sitting around. You're doing what the playbook says. The marketing feels busy while revenue lags. I'm Frank Hussman and I work with B2B SaaS founders on founder-led marketing and go-to-market. I've worked with 40 plus founders who ran into this problem. And almost every time, the issue isn't effort. It's understanding how content works in the buyer's mind. Most teams operate on a simple assumption. More content equals more visibility. More visibility equals more demand. So output becomes the goal. Weekly posting targets, daily prompts, content sprints. I see teams publishing 15, 20, sometimes even 25 pieces of content per month. LinkedIn posts, newsletter issues, video clips, blog articles. The content calendar is full and the team is executing. But you know what it is? Content volume creates noise, not clarity. Buyers don't remember how often you post. They remember whether you changed how you think about a problem. Research from Gartner shows that B2B buyers now engage with an average of 13 content pieces before making a purchase decision. And I actually think it's a little bit higher. But here's what matters. They're not looking for 13 different ideas. They're looking for a one coherent point of view, validated in 13 different ways. And when everything sounds useful but nothing sounds distinct, buyers just move on. Just think about how you consume content. You don't remember individual posts. You remember perspectives. You remember, these people think about go-to-market differently, or this founder sees a problem no one talks about, or this explains why your approach feels broken. B2B buyers are filtering constantly, and they're asking, is this new? Is this specific? Does this help me explain something internally? Random ideas don't pass that filter. Strong points of view really do. I've seen founders post 4 to 5 times a week on LinkedIn for months, and still show up to sales calls where prospects ask, so what makes you different? Not because the buyer didn't see the content, it's because nothing stuck. Here's what actually happens in the buyer's brain. According to behavioral research, people need to encounter an idea 7 to 10 times before it starts to influence their decision making. Not 7 different ideas, the same idea 7 times. Now contrast that with founders who repeat the same core belief for months. Different examples, different stories, the same idea. Those buyers don't ask what makes you different, they already know. Let me give you a concrete example of a client I've worked with. We didn't launch with 20 different positioning angles. We had one core belief about content operations that we repeated across every piece of content. And 10 days after launching their founder's LinkedIn presence, just 10 days, 2 qualified demo requests came in. Both prospects used our exact language to describe their problem. They weren't responding to volume, they were responding to clarity. And here's where most content strategies break. Teams keep adding new ideas instead of reinforcing the ideas that matter. They're optimizing for variety when they should be optimizing for repetition. When teams default to posting more, 3 things happen. First of all, buyers can tell what you stand for. You sound reasonable, informed, but not distinct. I've reviewed the founder's content last month with 47 LinkedIn posts over 3 months, and every single one was well written. It was good engagement, decent reach, but when I asked, what's the one thing you want buyers to believe? They couldn't answer. And if the founder doesn't know, the buyer definitely doesn't know. Secondly, nothing sticks long enough to influence decisions. A buyer might like a post, they even save it, but a week later, they can't remember who said it. The average LinkedIn post has a half-life of about 24 hours. It gets 75% of its engagement in the first day, which means if you're posting new ideas constantly, you're essentially starting from zero every single time. Compare that to repeating one strong idea. Every repetition builds on the last. The 7 times someone sees your core belief, it carries the weight of the previous 6 experiences. And third, your best insights get buried under average ones. I've seen founders water down their strongest thinking because they felt pressure to stay consistent. They had one sharp idea that could have anchored their category position. Instead, it got lost between a commentary, generic advice, and filler. And this is why founders tell me, people like our content, but it doesn't lead anywhere. It's not because the content is bad, it's because it's fragmented. You're training the market to see you as active, but not as authoritative. And the data backs this up. Edelman's Trust Barometer found that thought leadership influences 47% of B2B purchase decisions. And here's the key, they define thought leadership as a consistent point of view on industry challenges, not a collection of random insights. The teams that create demand do the opposite. They don't publish more ideas, they publish fewer ideas and repeat them. One SaaS founder I work with, who runs a marketing platform, had one core belief. Most marketing teams waste time chasing tools instead of creating content that actually drives results. And he repeated it in short LinkedIn posts, in longer explainer videos, in webinars and product demos, in email newsletters, the same idea with different angles. And within weeks, prospects started using that language in sales calls. They would say, We keep buying tools, but nothing actually moves the needle. We need to rethink how we approach content. And that's when content is working. Not when engagement goes up, but when buyers adopt your vocabulary. And that's what I call the authority engine. A 1-hour founder interview that becomes your single source of truth. Every piece of content comes from that one coherent point of view. Buyers need to see the same idea multiple times before it feels true. Research even shows that brand recall increases by 300% when the same message is repeated 3 to 5 times compared to one single exposure. Yet most SaaS teams never reach that third repetition because they're already on to the next idea. Fewer ideas, repeated often, always outperform novelty. This is the shift most founders need. Stop asking what should we post next. Start asking, what do we want the market to believe? If a buyer consumed your content for 3 months, what would they explain to that team? Because pipeline doesn't grow when you publish more. It grows when buyers repeat your perspective back to you. That's when sales gets easier. That's when objections soften. That's when deals feel less fragile. So the takeaway is, you don't need more ideas. You need fewer ideas, repeated more often. This is a dark funnel at work. Buyers are making decisions in places you can't track. WhatsApp groups, Slack channels, podcast conversations. And your job isn't to be in all those places. Your job is to give them the language that travels. If this resonates, the next videos go deeper into how founders turn their expertise into repeatable beliefs without becoming full-time content creators. It will be about how buyers form trust before they talk to sales and what that meant for content, go-to-market and pipeline. The next video is linked here. If you want these ideas broken down regularly, focused on demand, not vanity metrics, I share them in my newsletter for B2B SaaS founders. It's linked below. See you in the next one.